guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today I have a treat for you guys. You all know how much I love Legacy, how much I love interacting with people. And today we're going to have the perfect mix here. I'm joined by my good friend Martin Nilsson, Doomsday expert. How are you, Martin?
Good, thank you, Andreas. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, because I called in a specialist because one of my members over at Metafy requested that I played some Legacy Doomsday featuring Stockup. And joke's on me because I've never actually cast a Doomsday in Legacy in my life. I've casted in Vintage for, I don't know, 15 years, 20 years, but never in Legacy. So you were the first person that came to mind. And yeah, I'm super excited that we get to join forces here. Martin, you make a lot of Legacy content yourself, and if I remember correctly, it's very Doomsday centric. Would you say that's fair?
Yeah, I would say so. I used to make a lot of ant videos, like way back when, and then I transitioned into Doomsday. So that's what I mostly concentrate on doing.
Yeah, that's super cool. I'll make sure to link your YouTube channel in the pinned comment below so people can go and find you after watching this video. So without further ado, let's try and jump into this list. So Doomsday, of course, we want to cast Dark Ritual, we want to cast Doomsday, we want to have a little bit of backup, we want to build a pile and finish off with Thassa's Oracle. I know that much, but there's a lot of nerdy things here that I want to pick your brain about. So let me just start here. The personal tutors, correct me if I'm wrong, you want to play these when the format, the metagame requires you to be fast. So you want more actual copies of Doomsday and card advantage is less of a concern. Is that right?
Yeah, that's pretty fair. The personal tutors were something that was like looked down upon, I think, initially when the first iterations of this deck came about, and yeah, you can pretty much, I think, scale it. The faster the format is, the more consistently you have to have Doomsday. So if the format slows down, if it becomes more about stack interaction and like blue mirrors, you maybe want to look at scaling down the number of personal tutors and having a little bit like a more stable cards like cantrips and whatnot.
Yeah.
But
So if the more time you kind of have to mess around, the more we have time to sculpt our perfect hand. So from the other side of the table, one of the biggest strengths about this deck is the opponent never really knows if they're up against a turn 1 Doomsday or turn 3 Doomsday with double backup. And that's kind of what this version is trying to do as well, because now let's talk a little bit about the card that my member specifically suggested that should be in the list, Stockup. So I'm sure you've thought a little bit about this card. Can you kind of give me the pros and cons of this card through the lens of Doomsday?
yeah, for sure. And whenever a new legacy potential card surfaces, I always have Doomsday sort of in the back of my mind. And I did think about this when it was spoiled. And I think obviously the first thing I thought, which is what a lot of people thought, is that this goes well with Ancient Tomb. And Doomsday can't really play Ancient Tomb because it's hard to combine black with a lot of colorless producing lands. So I I thought about this card because it is so what it does once it resolves. It is everything this deck wants. It doesn't draw. It puts cards in your hand. It digs 5 cards deep, so it is kind of like, in a sense, a tutor. I know that's sort of stretching it, but
Yeah.
it does allow you to dig for the things you need, and it's card advantage. But I think it is a little bit at odds with the structure of the deck in the sense that, a lot of times if you want to cast this card in Doomsday and you want it to be at a point in the game where it's still relevant, you might end up having to spend a Lotus Petal or a Dark Ritual on it. And so that kind of negates one of the bonuses of the card, which is the card advantage. So,
Right.
but it is a very interesting card, and I'm looking forward to trying it out.
Yeah, because what I imagine is that you want to put this deck in a deck with a combo finish. So whether that's, Painter or a vintage deck with Time Bolt, Key, or it's a Doomsday deck, because at the end of the day, you can go find your Doomsdays and your protection. In theory, you can go turn 3 stock up, find Doomsday and Force of Will, and then next turn, all of a sudden, you kind of piece together a win with a backup, right? So that we're hoping to have the wiggle room to execute plays like that, but we're also wary that this, sure, it makes our deck better in the long term, but if the format is about, turns 1 through 3, this card is not necessarily going to help us. So I really liked your analysis there of the ups and downsides of a card like that. So let's just try and, for the folks at home and even me, let's try and go through this pile over here, because these are kind of the combo cards of the deck. So can you maybe just briefly talk about the cards I have over here in the pile, starting with Edge of Autumn?
Yeah, for sure. So the Legacy Doomsday deck doesn't get cards like Gush or Ancestral Recall or Gitaxian Probe even. So the ability to draw a card without paying any mana for it is very, very, very crucial to what this deck wants to do a significant portion of the time. And so the best cards available for the Legacy player is Street Wraith and Edge of Autumn. And I think your mileage may vary on those two cards, and they will also scale in number depending on the temperament of the pilot. The more cyclers you have, generally speaking, the faster your deck is.
Right.
Because having a cycler in hand can facilitate a same turn win, which is kind of, at least in game ones is what you really want if you can.
Yep.
So that's the cyclers. I think having 4 puts you right in the upper echelon of the middle speed category. I think 5 puts you in like turbo mode. 6 is crazy turbo, and below 4 you're kind of slipping back into the maybe I'm playing Teferi as well, maybe I'm playing like Baleful Strix or something. So I think 4 is nice. That's what I'm currently playing. Then we have the 1 copy of Lines at Diamond. This is a funny inclusion. I think this is probably the only deck, at least that I can remember in Legacy's history, that plays 1 copy of this card. It's usually a 4 of, because it is usually sort of crucial to Dredge or Madness or something that needs this effect all the time.
Yeah.
But the Lines that I'm in is needed specifically for the pile to ensure a same turn win. It will randomly also just be a nice card to have outside of the pile, but like I'd say 9 out of 10 times it's a pile card.
Right.
Then we have Cavern of Souls, which I've noticed is a card that is absent from Vintage Doomsday, but that is like, there's a lot of Pyroblasts in Legacy, especially post-board, where this is nice. This also makes it so that in game ones, if you can resolve your Doomsday versus a blue deck, you mostly will win, even if you have to pass the turn, because you will eventually put Thassa's Oracle through the pile, through the cavern. And then, yeah, Thassa's Oracle, the win condition, amazing card. I'm currently on a split right now of 1 Thassa, 1 Jace Wheeler of Mysteries.
Oh, wow.
But that's because, yeah, but that is sort of slipping into the mainstream a little bit. It is primarily because Consigned to Memory has become such a popular card, and it's kind of tricky to beat with just access to Thassa's Oracle. But Jace is still not established. It could well slip back. And I think having 2 win conditions, 2 Thassa's Oracles in this case, it's something I wasn't on board with initially, but I'm really on board with it now.
Yeah.
And then finally, the last card is Consider, which is obviously the weakest of the 3 different cantrips we're playing here, Brainstorm, Ponder, and Consider, but it is also needed for the same turn pile. And it was an upgrade that the deck got that was pretty great.
Yeah,
so.
The cool thing about Consider is also that it's a perfectly reasonable card to just cast, and that's kind of the logic where I imagine some of the conflict regarding Thassa's Oracle and the 4-mana Jace is, well, Jace is, actually a card you can cast for 4 mana and not be embarrassed about, and it plays around some stuff, but Thassa's Oracle is more mana friendly. So again, pros and cons, and it will change from metagame to metagame. But yeah, that was a good little rundown here. Especially enjoyed the part about the importance of casting Ritual Doomsday and then breaking into the pile right away. So we need to play some cards to support exactly that when the need for winning on the spot is at an all-time high. So the player here submitted a sideboard that is very, very focused on beating other combo decks, or let's say build a ton of protection against controlling decks. And then what do you think about the plan B here? Double Baragoi, double Shieldred. Is the plan B real after Psychic Frog ban?
I think it is real, but I think you need to ask yourself which matchup you're you're trying to beat, because for me the creature plan is mostly there as a foil to tempo decks, and especially like if there's a red Delver deck, then Barrogoyf and Sheoldred are like really good.
Yes.
But then I think if you want that, you probably want some more cards. Having just the 4 is a little bit light for my taste, but it's certainly not unreasonable. And you might also want to consider finding room for some removal spells if that's the plan
Right.
you want. But this is more of a light touch, especially Sheoldred is something I can see in low numbers being a reasonable inclusion.
Yeah, that from Vintage at least, Sheoldred is sometimes just a 1-card combo, right? That dodges, pierces, flusters, negations. And if you even say that Consign is in the mix, especially with Eldrazi on the rise, and then all of a sudden, maybe the opponent is keeping a hand of, I don't know, Consign, Force and Negation, and then they can look super silly against these boys. So I like the plan, but I just don't know about the balance and how hard you go on it. I've seen people play 4 Barrogoyfs and even some Murktides on top before as well. But mostly I've been seeing it from the other side of the table, and it's sometimes the unpredictability there is something that I talk about a lot on the channel, that especially with the new Mono Blue Painter deck, it's, do I need Wasteland for the Saga? Do I need to kill an Emery? Do I need to protect against a combo? Like, you don't really know. It's good for them to be a Swiss Army knife, and I kind of feel like this is taking some of the same concepts to the battlefield here. But I think we got around most stuff here, Martin. So what do you say we jam a couple of matches? Oh, you have something to...
Yeah, I think we simply cannot leave this screen without mentioning one of my favorite Magic cards of all time, which is Misdirection.
Oh, okay.
Which
So maybe that guy and you will form some kind of a secret club after this. Yeah, let's talk about Misdirection.
I don't know. I just love Misdirection. Some of the most wacky and beautiful weird plays come from this card.
Yeah.
It's not something you usually see in Legacy. I have seen other Doomsday players, and I have even tried it myself, having the quote unquote 5th force of will, and I think it is there to push the early Doomsday. So basically, it increases the likelihood that you'll have Dark Ritual Doomsday and a Force of Will in like on turns 1 or 2.
Yep.
It is obviously a very low floor, high ceiling card, and you can't really protect. Can't go on the defense with it, if that makes sense, right? So it's there to push through a thing, and I think like it's just a matter of how risk averse you are, if you're okay with having those times when it's just rotting in your hand and doesn't stop that Teferi that comes down, or whatever.
That's a good call about the variance of the card. It's sometimes the best card in your deck, sometimes it's the worst, and maybe we live for those moments. Let's see if we can redirect some cool stuff here. Yeah, that's going to do it for the intro here, Martin. Up next, we'll have a few matches. So, yeah, let's see if we can take down some unsuspecting strangers. Alrighty, round 1 here. I'm joined by my good friend Martin Nevilshute of Internet Doomsday fame, and we're here to make the Magic Rat set. What do you think about this hand, Martin?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to like about this hand. This is a turn 2 Doomsday with Force of Will backup, and if the first draw step of the game is kind to us, we have double Force of Will backup, right? So this obviously runs into a Wasteland kind of head first, which would be annoying, but it's not the end of the world. So I like this hand, especially on the play.
Yeah, lots of potential here. Great call about if our draw on the second turn is a blue card, we have double backup. So this is an obvious keep, and you already shared your thoughts about the potential of the hand. What about the pedal here? Slow roll, right?
Yeah, it's slow for sure. Like, there's not a lot of chalice for 0, so I would rather do that and have them not know what's coming on turn 2.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot on the channel, the information exchange in a game of Magic. So right now, if we play the pedal, the opponent knows the sense of urgency is going to be higher, then they're going to ponder into a Force of Will instead of shuffle, right? It can alter their path in the game. Savannah Reclaimer. This is not a problem, right? And then we just cast Doomsday?
Yeah. Yeah, I would let this resolve and then just cast Doomsday, and then very few things, I think, beat us in game 1 here.
I would put Endurance on that list. Maybe you can think of more.
Yeah, for sure. And no, Endurance is probably the main thing. Okay, we didn't draw a fourth blue card, but Yeah, but that's okay.
So now I'm going to lean on your expertise. So we cast Doomsday. We know it's going to resolve. We play against green-white depths or lands or whatever. So I'm going to let you take the wheel from here, and hopefully I can click the 5 cards you arrive at.
Yeah. So if you'll indulge me here, so the thing we have to decide is, do we want to play around them having a wasteland, an endurance, or a fast combo kill? Because
you know the "why not both" meme with the small girl?
yeah, yeah. ¿Por qué no los dos? Yeah. So yeah, the thing is, we could slow roll it here and grab like a fetch land, and you don't have to click yet, but like grab it. We could grab a fetch land and the basic island, and then like Edge of Autumn, Street Wraith, Thassa, that kind of thing. That loses to double wasteland, so we don't want that. I don't think. We could try and just say like we could build a pile that absolutely wins against anything but endurance because they can't double wasteland us next turn.
Correct.
And I would probably, yeah, it's between that or like hoping they don't have like a wasteland. I think even like one.
I'm good with saying if you have double endurance, you beat us.
No. So that's the thing. Not double endurance. We lose to a single endurance. Because the thing that absolutely does not lose to wasteland is to build a pile that involves Lion's Eye Diamond, but that involves losing our hand. So what I would consider here is putting in like the basic island and then like double Street Wraith and possibly double Thassa. So
can we win next turn with that pile?
Yeah, we can.
If they tab out, okay.
Yeah, but like even if they don't, like we win unless they have some weird sequence of I mean, I guess we do lose. We don't lose, but we lose next. We don't win next turn if they have the wasteland in that case. So that is kind of the thing, right? That we need to work out. How willing are we to?
What about? So let's see. We draw. That's 4 cards. Double cycle. That's 2 cards. And then, in order to do shenanigans with Lion's Eye, we'll lose our force. So that's our endurance protection here. So how can we beat Wasteland and Plow?
Yeah, we can beat Wasteland and Plow, but we don't win next turn. And then we lose if they have the second Wasteland.
The problem is, if we take next turn off, they get a turn to Reclaimer for one of the Wastelands.
This is true, but then like then they don't wasteland us next turn and we just win. So basically, I think I have found something I would be happy with, which would be a single Thassa, 2 Street Wraith, and then like Underground Sea and basic island.
And that's better than fetch because it actually plays around double wasteland if this game goes somewhat long.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then like
I'm looking for the island here currently. There it is. Okay, so you like these 5?
Yeah. So the thing is, we lose to something weird like if they don't tap out, then we could potentially lose to like Plow plus endurance.
I think I'm okay with that.
Yeah. So what I would do here is I would put Underground Sea on the bottom and then the basic island on top of that.
Yeah, so
followed by Thassa and then the 2 cyclers, and then
so that this way the basics are the like super late playing against slowly developed wastelands, but we don't need them for the turbo kill, so we kind of have them in the bank in the bottom here. Okay. Yeah, this is interesting because Savannah Reclaimer can be classic lands deck, can be like green-white depths type deck. And I don't think it can be the Cradle Control deck, because then it would have been a Bayou and not a Savannah here.
Yeah, and now I think, so they're just passing here. They're passing with Open Reclaimer, and we have to decide if we want to try and play around Plow plus Endurance or double Plow. Seeing as they didn't wasteland us here, this kind of, in quotation marks, sort of time walks the whole wasteland plan a bit. So we could we could just try and play it slow here, and try not to lose to plow, and just have the force for the endurance.
So let's see.
But it is obviously
Fetch
because
to,
this, I mean, yeah.
cycle to 3 cards, cycle to 2 cards. Then we have Oracle in hand. We play Oracle. Then we only have 1 force. So we have to wait I feel like we have to wait too long in order to empty our library here.
We would have to wait 2 more turns to empty the library.
And I think that's enough time for the opponent to Reclaimer for a wasteland, draw another wasteland. Like, bad stuff can happen, right?
Yeah, I suppose. But we are set up to beat 2 wastelands in that sense, right? Because we have the basic island coming first, so you know, we can play that next turn, and then we can have the last underground sea. It's more, I think, a question of will they kill us before then? Because I think we can beat the wastelands now,
Okay.
unless they have Ghost Quarter as well. We can beat wastelands, so it's mostly like, will this end up with them, like, I don't know, getting Thespian Stage now and then
So if they
having Dark
do
Depths or
that,
whatever?
they bought themselves a turn. So then if they do that, go for like an aggressive line that's trying to win the game rather than prevent losing the game, then we can just try and win next turn. And then the punishment
Yeah,
was
exactly.
we gave them 1 draw step, which is something.
Yeah.
Okay, so your gut instinct is to pass here and respect. So we have to go really deep down here, and then we end up in a spot anyway where plow is not relevant, but endurance is. Okay, so your gut instinct is to pass here and give it a few turns.
Yeah, it is. I'm not happy about like for as well as this game has sort of shaped up for us initially. I'm not in love with where we are, but
Okay,
I also don't think it's
that's interesting.
like
This
yeah,
seems super hard. This is a decision that we are not even confident in, and it could also the unknown, right, of what's coming out of the opponent's deck. There must be a lot of metagame research if you want to like win the most important legacy tournament you can think of with this deck. The opponent milling over
for
a
sure.
plow,
Yeah,
which
that's really interesting. I think that doesn't tell us that much, but you do think they you know,
it's either
they
they
could have
have
it.
plenty of those effects, or they realize we are trying to play around that. So
Yeah, okay. And now I don't think we gain anything from trying to win now and having 1 card left in the deck and then
but we
losing to
gain
the plow in their
something. We
hand.
gain something by developing a land. If we double cycle here, we play a
This is
land
true.
out.
This is
That's good, right?
yeah, no, that's true. Hang on. Though. That drops us to 6. They can get to that thing to be a 3/4, and then we also have to Force of Will. That's down to 5.
I think
so
it's
we'll be
okay.
at 2 if they. I think it's okay too. Yeah.
So right now, funnily enough, hardcast endurance. I guess we just have to force endurance. That's just how it works, right?
Yeah.
So
All right.
So in theory, we should have drawn the C here, right? No, maybe that's not true.
No, I don't think so. No, I think this was correct, and now they have to just not have double endurance, I guess. Okay, so they're finally activating their guy.
Yeah, last turn. Oh, they didn't. They just fetched for the portico. Okay. Wow, this is so complicated, Martin. I'm not sure I will. Okay, this is good for us because we prepared for this. Yeah. Whew. This seems incredibly hard. Okay, so there's the flagstones. That kind of tells us it's, you know, Knight of the Reliquary type deck. So that one is gone. The opponent already made their land drop, and now they need double endurance to beat us. So we go to 3 here. So that means they have something to use their mana on. You don't. Yeah, this is masterful. If we beat like multiple plows here, the 1 endurance. This is
Let's just hope it's only 1 endurance.
Yeah, double endurance would be super brutal. I don't.
Yeah.
Maybe you can fit that in the deck. Let's see.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I mean, that has to be countered.
It's the same thing.
Now, if
right?
they also. Yeah, it's the same thing.
We're all in here. We beat plow. We cannot keep. But if you play Thrall plus Endurance, that would be also kind of insane. So okay. So why are
Good
you
point.
playing this card? Let's try and pick up on the information exchanged here. They learned that we are like, this is also a thing, right? They now know how aggressive of a version we are. So
Yeah.
why would you play the Thrall?
I have seen it like in random like small white creature decks because it does stop what do you call it? Oops, all spells. If you could ever get to turn
Yeah, it
2, it
stops a lot of
stops
things.
Doomsday.
Even Emery out of the painter decks now stops like Pyrogoyf. But maybe that deck's like a 1 Dreadnought deck with 4 Sagas. That would be kind of cool.
That would be sick. So unfortunately, we don't really have a lot
I'm looking at these
to bring.
Stockups. How much time do you
Yep.
think we have to refill here compared to just being fast?
The problem is there is not really a lot
The
I would
creatures aren't
want to
good
bring
either.
in.
Yeah, right.
No, the creatures aren't good. Like potentially, I don't know. Like they could have something we would want to point a force of negation at, like a choke or some other
Yeah,
random green
that's going to be very
hate card.
speculative, I feel like.
Yeah, I think honestly, I don't see there's a lot of good sideboarding
Maybe
here.
this
Like,
card is kind of good because then we play that card and then we win next turn with a backup, and sometimes
yeah,
all they have is like
yeah.
one thing to beat us. The Thrall
Yeah,
is super annoying, actually.
the thrall is very annoying, and it is a problem. We can't like in good conscience
The Thrall is a
like
must
try.
counter.
Yeah, it's good we have the 3 thought seizes. I like that. You could make an argument to like that Flusterstorm has text. Like you can snag a Green Sun Zenith or a crop rotation if they were playing that, but I don't think
Yeah.
it's worth it
Hmm.
until we know a bit more. So
Maybe
I would,
just resubmit and say
yeah,
that he's the one who should be worried.
I think that's fair.
But yeah, even just a couple of fatal pushes here would go a long way, because sometimes you have to kill a hate bear, and sometimes you just need to buy time, like against a random Delver deck. Then the time is just going to be worth its weight in gold, right? This sideboard
I
is
think
very
actually
focused on just having generic disruption in, I guess, combo matchups and control matchups.
there is this thing to be said about like what do you call it? Oh, I'm just blanking. Never mind. It'll come back to me.
Yeah, I just kept this hand because, we have what we need. We have lands and spells, and then we kind of have to react to what's going on.
Hey, look. I'm not getting away from a hand like this. So I think the thing we have to ask ourselves is, because we have actually no way to beat a resolved Doorkeeper Thrall.
Uh-huh.
So if that card wasn't on my radar, I would probably like play out my fetch land and then just try and slow roll the pedal like last game and then go for turn 2 Doomsday. But I am quite concerned that they'll be able to like have the Thrall. So, and the problem with that is that exposes us to Wasteland, because we don't want to lead on basic island when the plan is to go turn 2 Doomsday.
We need to leverage casting our spells on time and play to the potential of the deck. But you also have to worry about what the opponent can do. So the opponent kept 7 cards. In order to keep 7 cards, you can't just keep, a Plow and a Knight of the Reliquary and call it a day. You need some relevant cards in the matchup in order to keep that against Doomsday. You just lost on turn 3, or, kind of lost. So we have to give our opponent a little bit of credit here. So you're saying because of all of that, let's ponder first for either Force of Will or Dark Ritual and hope for the best.
Yeah, preferably Force of Will, because I think there's a very high likelihood that our opponent has either an Endurance or a Doorkeeper Thrall in their hand. There is Force of Will. Oh, that was good. That was very good.
So we draw the Brainstorm next draw step?
Yeah, I guess. I was going to say, like, even like having lands is not the terrible thing here, but I know that's fine. Brainstorm
this must be optimal. Then we can use the Brainstorm to kind of set up our land spell ratio later.
Yeah.
Yeah, Endurance is a card that, because reanimation strategies, oops, all spells, etc., are so dominating in the metagame, we can expect as kind of a splash damage for Doomsday. How often is that a thing where some other deck is, to blame that you're facing more hate? Consign being a good example as well.
I think it's like most of the most of the cases, yeah, consign, endurance, like dress down for a bit. I
Right.
think the number of endurances I face has dwindled, but I also think Doomsday is seeing not that much play. So,
Yeah, it's certainly not for that. What do you feel about this? This is a
well,
resolve, right?
I think we have to save the Force of Will, and they'll ideally they only get like one
Hmm.
activation of this or one trigger
Yeah,
off of this. But
I think if we counter
it
this, we're just back at losing to the first interactive spell.
yeah, I agree. But this is a pretty terrifying card to like say Doomsday Go against because you just know they're gonna automatically take 8 damage instantly and just draw everything. That's how it
Yeah,
works.
so with that being said, can we use the dynamic in the matchup to our advantage here and not cast Doomsday and then set up for a Doomsday one on the spot instead with the objective to make our opponent sleep a little bit at the wheel here. So if we go something like, I don't know, brainstorm, play a fetch land, pass the turn to not look scary, then hopefully opponent makes an irrelevant play and we then punish them. Is that a thing?
Yeah, it's possible. The thing is though, winning on the spot is going to require us to
Oh,
lose the
right.
Force of Will to Lineshead
You're
and
right.
Diamond
This is not vintage.
because
I need a post-it in front of me. This is not vintage. Our Black Lotus comes with a huge drawback.
yeah, exactly. So I think um
We can also dig a little bit here. Maybe we find like a Thoughtseize or
but I think like so we have both the Island and the Cavern of Souls in hand
mm,
to ensure land drops post Doomsday.
yeah.
So
Wasteland is
I
not a
think
thing.
what I no Wasteland is not a thing, and I think like I would be tempted to cast the Doomsday now,
And
and
then
then
we
we
kind
have
of
to
use
decide
these
if
cards to maybe play through Endurance.
so. Maybe, yeah. I don't know. Like the thing is, we have to decide if we want to build a pile that includes Thoughtseize in order to, get a look at what's going on, and maybe like take a Thrall or
Hmm.
Endurance. But Thoughtseize might set us back an extra turn, so that's also a problem if you know what I mean. Because then
I
they get
like,
an extra trigger off of
y-
the Sylvan Library.
yeah, for sure. I like casting Doomsday for all of those reasons. So let's do that and then kind of have the visuals of the deck to maybe you'll get
Yeah.
a better idea. But I think you're definitely right that passing the turn is not in our best interest with that card on the table. So we cast Doomsday. We have a single force, um,
Mm.
and we feel like we kind of have to. We know about the Thrall and the endurance is high likelihood, right? We also don't know about the plows, and how they prefer to go about things after sideboard. So let's see if we can cook something up here, Martin. So
Yeah. So one thing we could try, as a way of potentially beating the endurance would be this is a little bit naughty, but seeing as we have consider
I'm
in the
up for it.
pile, we could this sort of requires them not to wasteland us next turn, so that's a big if. But so we could like cast consider to eat through like 2 cards
Yes.
basically.
Draw step 4. Consider down to 2 cards. Yes.
Yeah, and so the card we draw with the consider is like a street wraith. And so we can street wraith into the second card from the bottom, which is Thassa's Oracle, and then the last card also being Thassa's Oracle,
Mm-hmm.
because that way,
Let's see.
that
Then
way,
if we get Endurance, we get Doomsday in the deck, Consider in the deck, one random card in the deck, right?
yeah, and then so that's 3 cards that go underneath the deck, and then then there are 4 cards in the deck. We draw the next one on our next turn. It's another Thassa's Oracle. Now we have Devotion 4 and 3 cards in the deck,
Okay. That's a
and
good 1-2
and this
punch.
yeah, and in that way we also we keep hold of Force of Will and Brainstorm for fun and
So
profit later on
so most
potentially.
likely Brainstorm is Force of Will fodder. We kind of
Hmm.
force our opponent to have it, and then our backup is the second Oracle. I think that I
Yeah,
like that plan.
mind you, we did just convince ourselves that our opponent kept a good hand. They didn't wasteland us last turn, but that's probably because even if they had the wasteland, they would want to play out
Yeah,
Sylvan
I think
Library.
we're in
So
trouble against double. disruption, unless one of them is endurance. Like we can force the thrall, and then the endurance is okay, and then we try and win again the following turn. That's kind of the thing, right?
Yeah. I think I also don't hate the plan in the sense that we can also get to a point where we could force of will twice. That requires us not casting the Consider, so maybe not. I don't know. But let's just see. There's also a card we're going to mill, so we can make that a blue card that, like a, I don't know, a Ponder or something that could
Sure.
both be a card we could pitch, but it could also be a card that can draw a card if we needed to. This gives up on trying to Thoughtseize them, but I think that's okay.
Yeah. So which
Oh, sorry, I'm talking nonsense. I'm talking about having two forces, like we have a force. Maybe the Ponder needs to be another force.
But the thing is, we're kind of using our blue cards to even get going, so the double force might be a pipe dream.
Yeah, but let's see that we so let's say we draw Force of Will for turn, then we cast Consider, we mill over Ponder, draw Street Wraith. So now our hand is Force, Brainstorm, and Street Wraith. And the last two cards in the deck are two Thassa's Oracles. We could, it probably won't come up. We could end up in a situation where we prefer to just draw one Thassa, have double force, and then resolve the second Thassa.
Yeah,
But
the problem is they get more time to find the cards we don't want them to find, and they have a Sylvan, so that kind of cancels that out.
Yeah.
So I think your first thought of having the two Oracles, forcing the Thrall, accepting Fate against Endurance, and then try again the turn after, I think that's our best bet.
Right.
So if that's the case, what do we want alongside the two Oracles here? Which card are we milling over? Does that ever matter?
It doesn't matter, I think, unless we want to consider the fact that it might end up back in the deck with Force of Will. Sorry, with Endurance.
So Ponder's not a bad shout.
I don't know. Ponder's not a bad shout. Like Edge of Autumn is not a bad shout because that can, like, in turn, sort of speed through the deck.
So we need one more card here to make a playable pile.
We need a Street Wraith.
Okay.
Because we're gonna draw that off of the Consider.
So what are we drawing on draw step here? Oracle?
Well, no. Well, we could draw Oracle, but then the Ponder is not really doing anything.
The Ponder is getting milled over, right?
No, but if Ponder gets milled over, then we draw Street Wraith, I guess.
Sure.
And then Street Wraith into Edge of Autumn, and then the last card in the deck is the second Oracle. Yeah, maybe that's fine.
We need to make a play here, so let's just go for it, Martin.
Sure. Yeah, I agree.
So last card was Oracle. Street Wraith or Edge? Edge, probably?
Edge. Yeah. And then Street Wraith with Ponder on top, and then we draw Thassa's Oracle for turn.
Okay, let's try this. Yeah, I'm not sure about this. It's very hard because when I usually think about this, I'm thinking about like everything that can happen in Vintage, and none of those things are relevant here. As in zero. Zero. There's no, Ragavans, no Brain Freeze, no, I guess, Consigns are a thing, and Dress Downs, and it's rough because we have yet to see an Endurance out of that deck. We just expect that that's in our opponent's deck.
Yeah. I would be absolutely shocked if they don't draw all three cards here.
Yeah.
Or keep all three cards.
Oh, for sure.
I'm also keenly aware that we have just gobbled up almost all of our clock. So in case we don't win this game, we have to.
Yeah. Then we're gonna try
be efficient.
even harder.
Yeah.
Game 3.
There's so many interesting things to talk about.
I actually thought about making this just only like podcast style, but I guess we try and combine it with some gameplay and losing on time. That's kind of cool.
There's no wasteland here, so that's good. Is this choke? It is choke.
Okay, so now we're probably getting Enduranced, and can we do anything about that?
No, but I think it's okay. Like so we forced this pitching the Brainstorm, because I don't think we can really expect to win through the choke. I mean, maybe we could have. I don't know, but now, yeah, we don't win to the first Endurance. We lose to, like, I guess, no, not even double endurance, but we do lose like endurance plus thrall on the
Yeah,
subsequent turn or
exactly.
whatever.
It all has to do with what the opponent can do with that extra turn and mana. So
Yeah,
that's the logic behind countering the choke is it just gives them
yeah.
time
Oh,
to.
they're casting surgical here. Okay,
So I
so
guess
now
with
they'll.
surgical cast, the endurance count goes down, like in theory, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I think, I mean, this is obviously not great because it shuffles our deck, but I think our pile is somewhat resilient.
Yeah, that's true. We have the
We
cyclers, double oracle.
yeah, we don't want to put an oracle into the graveyard. We want to have access to casting both of them. So I think
But even if we
I don't.
flip an oracle with an, if we let's say we natural draw oracle and we see another one on consider, we go for it, right?
But we don't even. I don't think we need to, right?
I think we
Oh yeah,
do.
maybe we do. Yeah, yeah, no, no, you're right, you're right. Let's just. Okay, so that's good.
So
So I
is it
think I
better to cycle first?
um no.
Maybe this is good to keep.
Yeah, yeah, no. So here's what we do. We cast consider now because then we have the street rate to cycle post and
Uh-huh.
endurance if we need to.
So just get rid of this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then the last two cards are ooh,
So that's kind of annoying. So we just cycle and play an oracle, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay. So we try to win here. You play this for good measure.
Yeah. Why not? And then we'll see. I would
And
also be quite surprised if they don't have the endurance here, but we'll see.
yeah, that would be very underwhelming defense. The pause here. So let's see if we get reshuffled. We have a bad draw here in Doomsday. No, because we draw from the top. They go to the bottom.
Yeah. 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 Okay. So now we lose if they have
Wow.
we
Even.
well, I mean, with Plow, we can still play our island and cast Ponder next turn, and then draw like yeah, I guess maybe we do still.
So this goes to the bottom, or
No, no, no hang on. Um, so right now our deck is what, 3 cards big,
it's 3, yeah.
and so what's the wait? There's a Doomsday, and what happened to like the Edge of Autumn and they surgical the Doomsday, I guess.
No. Maybe it's yeah, it's 5.
It's 5.
It's
Yeah,
5.
okay.
This is like temporary zone. So Doomsday,
I
Ponder,
don't think we.
Edge.
Yeah, I guess like yeah, yeah. So let's say we draw the Street Wraith.
Problem is then the
And then
Doomsday is a brick. But
yeah, but then we can ponder. I don't think it matters hugely.
let's see, 5,
So
draw step 4, Street Wraith 3, Ponder 2.
we,
So maybe we can get there.
I think we can get there.
Okay,
Even through a wasteland.
I'll try and put the Street Wraith on top here. Too
Okay,
much,
we also have
too much time
yeah,
spent here, but very hard deck, and
yeah, yeah,
two
for sure.
brains that are not used to working together as well.
Yeah, but I mean, they might also just like untap and slam
The
the
Thrall,
troll.
yeah.
So
Wow,
they are
yeah,
getting.
that was annoying because their disruption was the surgical was a surprise. You had the choke. You thought about the choke. We kind of knew about endurance. We did hedged quite a bit. For like winning slowly with double oracle against endurance.
Yeah.
But it's very hard.
Yeah, but I mean, we can still do that here. I think maybe we made a mistake in putting Street Wraith on top because I think if we put Oracle on top, then we can just play Thassa's Oracle and then we don't lose to another Endurance because the deck is 4 cards big and there's no graveyard.
Oh, great call. I was trying to play around Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah, but I mean, that's certainly also like
But that
reasonable.
is very speculative. Actually, just a small thing while the opponent is doing their job here. game one, we emptied our deck and showed that we are capable of playing around, swords as a removal spell. That could be the tiebreaker for saying, I think they give us the credit on Sideboard Outplow, right? Because of what happened game one. Either thing can be very punishing. So I think now we can kind of get, I didn't think about this, that now the Ponder is not super reliable. Nice Wasteland, buddy.
Yeah, if they have another choke here, it's
okay, so we get, so now we really receive the punishment for not stacking the Oracle.
Yeah, but then we would lose to the second endurance anyways.
Oh, definitely.
Oh wow, they have another crop rotation. That's sick.
Wait a minute. Do we even have 2 lands in the deck?
No,
we don't.
no.
Okay, so
no, that's GG's. All right, just concede and we'll try and be fast for game number 3.
Oof, brutal showing.
That
here.
was
brutal showing.
Yeah, that
so
that
we
can
did
happen.
see some cards that this card is catching, but it's 2 for 1 and all of that jazz. The rest does not handle endurance either.
I could see us boarding in 1 or 2 Force of Negation in lieu of 1 or 2 Stockup. And maybe also, actually, Misdirection, as much as I do love that card, also I don't think has a lot of targets here.
True. So how do you feel about this? Trim a stock and a Misdirection for a couple of negations?
Yeah, I think that's fair. They might also have stuff like Deafening Silence or something that we want to Force of Negation.
Yeah. Oof. Lots of relevant cards because all of their, anti-storm cards are actually live.
I think we keep this this hand. It's not amazing, but we also...
Do you want to Surveil turn 1?
I think I want to Ponder turn 1 and then probably brainstorm the Undercity Sewers away and find a fetch land rather than going slow with the turn 1 Surveil.
Okay, so backup plan is to use the Undercity as like a pseudo shuffle with Brainstorm, I guess.
Yeah, if we don't hit a if we don't hit a fetch land, yeah.
Yeah, back up to that plan. It's we try and build our own shuffle, at least get rid of the worst card.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is about that deck is their disruption is kind of free, so we can't even use like a window to kill them, or because they still have it available, right?
Yeah.
So
okay,
this tutor is probably good.
Yeah. So let's draw that and then they will draw fetch land afterwards. That's fine as well.
So once again, we find ourselves in a position where we can cast the Doomsday. We have a single backup, and we hope for the best.
Yeah.
Not ideal against what the opponent has going on, I guess.
Yeah.
We don't care about Reclaimer.
No, they can have a Reclaimer. I would go so far as to say this Deafening Silence.
We probably have to force it, right?
Well, I don't think so.
Wasteland is really crushing us here. But I'm okay with it if you are. So we just take the turn. We maybe play Sewers and Tutor and pass.
Yeah. We also we're drawing another land, but let's do what you just said. So let this resolve because I think we have to save the Force of Will for the Troll or Endurance, whichever it is.
So I played the tap land.
Yeah, play it just as a tap land. Surveil doesn't matter unless it shows as Doomsday, I guess.
And we know it won't, right?
Oh yeah, that's right. There were 2 fetch lands. So let's
Personal Tutor Doomsday.
That's it.
That's the turn. You cast our spell.
Yeah. And this is yeah, I guess we're gonna end up in the spot where we cast Doomsday and then they can untap and cast Choke. Just sort of on curve.
We can force a will then.
This is true. This is true.
So we are hoping that we don't need force a will. Opponent, you're annoying. I feel like we have to.
Oh my god.
This is kind of the same situation. So right now we have to ask ourselves: did they keep the hand only based on the silence, or do they have more? What's your gut feeling here?
I think you forced this. I think what we're doing, the exact same thing that happened last game is going to happen again. So I'd rather take my chances that we can build a reasonable pile with a second Oracle. So I'd pitch the Brainstorm.
Then we cast Doomsday. And then let's see if we can execute here. So if we can be a little bit forward thinking, that would be ideal. Let's keep the fetch for manual thinning later, potentially.
Yeah. And so we have to accept we lose to a bunch of stuff here, but they also only have 4 cards in hand.
Agree.
I want the second Oracle. I
Mm-hmm.
want a basic island.
Yeah.
And I want cyclers. I think that's pretty much just it.
Okay. So we're saying the silence doesn't do anything. Can we
The
cast two?
silence does.
We can
Well, I
cast
mean,
two
so
oracles, Martin. Let's set up a situation where we can cast 2 oracles next turn.
yeah, I'm down with that. And that we accept we lose to choke, but we can beat endurance. We also lose to the troll, but hey, them's are the breaks.
Exactly.
So basically, you just want the basic island, the Thassa, and then probably 2 Street Wraith and 1 Edge of Autumn, because I think our life total is not going to.
I think the fetch is gonna take care of the last draw. So let's see. What do we draw for turn? We draw cycler into. Okay, so we need to do all of this. Fair enough.
Yeah, we do need. Yeah.
So land at the bottom, so we're fetching in the end, and then oracle.
Yep. Yep.
Double Street Wraith.
Yep.
This is probably fine. That's the turn, and now we have 1 trick left, ish.
Yeah, we have to fade them having well, surgical would be annoying, but not necessarily game over.
Yeah, surgical
choke
is beatable.
is just choke is just GG's, as is the troll.
Yeah,
and that's it, I think.
Yeah, sometimes you have to realize what you can beat and what you can't beat, and this is just a pretty good case of it where we are saying we don't want our opponent to see 3 new cards because those next 2 cards might beat us, right?
Here's the choke.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh well.
That was a cool one. We in some perfect world, maybe we have 2 lands in our pile right now, and we give ourselves a chance against that card.
Yeah.
But this was basically against the most expected disruption, where we give ourselves a chance to cast double Oracle next turn. That beats a lot of stuff.
Yeah, because I think I'm not super versed in Savannah decks, but I would assume that choke is like maybe a 2 of at most.
Yeah.
Maybe I could be wrong, but where I think like endurance is more likely to be like a higher count, but
Yeah,
I don't know. Who knows?
I think mathematically this was a fine play. The decision on countering the library was a rough one to make. It's basically saying it's card number 2 and 3 on top of their deck we are countering, basically, because they will draw the first one automatically.
Yeah.
So not an easy one. Didn't work out this time. Let's grab one more before I let you go, Martin. All right, round 2, grueling. Round 1 loss. Up against time, but in the end, it was deafening silence, endurance, choke, and the green-white matchup is not as easy as one should expect, as you just mentioned here between the matches. Next hand, though, what do we see here?
This is a nice one. So, it's a 1-lander, and we do want to fetch a duel to cast an Underground Sea to cast a Personal Tutor to sort of move on with our plan. But this hand goldfishes a same turn win on turn 2, so I am down with that. And it's nice that we have this Street Wraith, so even if we do get wastelanded, we will at least have a way to kind of speed up our potential recovery.
Yeah, good point about the Street Wraith, both being the card that enables a turn 2 kill, but also being something that digs us for the land in case our opponent is a party pooper. So
yeah. So what I want to see here is, I think, like Moon Stompy.
Yeah, Ancient Tomb something.
Ancient Tomb something. Oh, of course not. Oh, this could be a mirror or an Omni deck, right? Probably.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Painter, not
here.
Painter, because that's a fetch land.
Okay, interesting. What is this? Profane Tutor entered the exile zone. Damn straight. Okay, I think this is blue black
Yeah,
Omnitel,
yeah, some kind of omniscience stuff.
and I think we just jam here, right?
Yeah, definitely. If this resolves, then maybe we have a headache. Because then we have to decide.
Okay, so
I
I
want to
think
cast this misdirection to at least cast the misdirection once.
I think we cast Misdirection pitching the Brainstorm so that we have the chance to Street Wraith into a blue card and have a second force if we have to.
This is a great call. I love it.
Wow, Street Wraith
The opponent
in
just
the
pitched
year
a
of our
force to the force, so I think we're good here. Changed it, so we changed it to
yeah.
misdirection.
Yep.
That's how the card works. That resolves. That fizzles. That
Yep.
resolves. And now I need your help here on how to finish the
Okay.
job, because the coast is clear now.
Yeah. So we unfortunately we can't win same turn now because we don't have the resources.
Got it.
If we had another blue card, another blue mana, or a third card in our hand, which was Brainstorm or a Cycler, we could, but we can't. So I think seeing as we're up against Show and Tell, and as they have a Profane Tutor ticking down, we really don't want to give them another turn. We're giving them one turn, but we don't want to give them an additional turn and have the tutor pop, right?
Yep,
So
I agree.
I think if you put, let me just see here, a second cycler, a third cycler, so cycler, 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 and then Cavern of Souls, and then Thassa's Oracle.
Great call. So then we empty our deck and play Uncounterable Thassa's next turn.
Yeah.
In the
So
meantime, we are...
one little caveat here is that doing it like this, we have 2 Edges of Autumn and only 2 lands total. So Cavern of Souls cannot be the bottom card.
It's going to be my top card. Because
yeah,
then I play
sure.
then I play around Thoughtseize. Then I can cycle into a non-Thoughtseizable card.
I love that play. I was going to say though that there is an alternative world here where our opponent untaps, plays an Ancient Tomb and casts Show and Tell. And in that world, we want to be able to cycle all the way down to Thassa to then put Thassa in off the Show and Tell, and then they have to have Cunning Wish, basically.
Ooh.
But I think I like not losing, or at least not like we can't put Thassa above Cavern of Souls regardless, because then the double edge won't work. So I think we go with your line and put Cavern of Souls as the first card, and then the pile is going to be like it says it sits right there.
So Oracle all the way in the bottom. Double edge.
Street Wraith, and then Cavern on top, right? I guess that doesn't matter that much, really.
Yeah,
but
that's true. That doesn't matter. So we pass here. Hope Disaster doesn't strike. I liked your play a lot, though. So let's say we didn't get forced here. Then we actually had to worry about more cards in the opponent's hand, and then we can kind of shut off the Ancient Tomb Show and Tell avenue with your plan of draining our deck size down to 2, and then the Oracle goes into play off the Show and Tell. I like that a lot.
Yeah. All right. Ponder probably means we're in the clear. They would have to have Petal and Ancient Tomb and Show and Tell, and
Force
so that's
of Will is off the table thanks to your genius pile here.
Well, Cavern of Souls is it's a lovely Magic card.
Yeah, it really.
Yeah. Or rather, I think actually it's a bullshit card, if I can say that. But it is
it's
very
from a
very
time
good at
where
facilitating.
creatures were not very good, and blue was like the best color. That's kind of interesting how that transpired.
Yeah.
Or how that evolved from there, rather. So the opponent keeps the card, but the champ has made a good pile here.
Right on.
2 cards in the deck. Wizard.
Yep.
Sacrifice the cavern for good measure.
Well, we do need to sacrifice both.
That's true. We need to sacrifice both. It doesn't matter. So
Yeah.
now we cast Oracle and we can only get stopped by legacy unplayables like Subtlety.
Yeah. All right.
Now
So
it's time for the sideboard to shine.
yeah, now we really get to go nuts here. So I think I bring in those cards. I think we also bring in Shouldred,
Okay.
2 Shouldreds.
I like that
And
a
I think
lot. So maybe we cut
yeah.
a lot. Okay, walk me through this. My gut instinct would be to slow down and be the control deck here, but you take it from here.
No, I agree completely. So what I would look at cutting here is probably the 2 personal tutor. I would be fine cutting one of each cycler. I would probably be fine cutting 1 Thassa's Oracle. So we're down to 1.
Ooh.
I don't think we need to really worry about that. And plus we also do have a legit alternative win condition now with Shouldred.
Counterpoint, we bring in more forces, so having the excess blue card being this card will maybe come up.
Well, maybe. Let's put a ring around it just for now. Then there's an interesting debate as to whether we even want Lineside Diamond and Consider. Those two kind of go together.
I like cutting
Without
those.
Lineside Diamond, yeah. And so we're still like a few cards heavy here. But
How
I
do you feel?
think
How do you feel
like
about Days and Petals?
I feel fine cutting like 1 or 2 petals, seeing as we're slowing down. Days, I mean, it does. There's some. My brain has a hard time computing like cutting counterspells versus combo, but
Yeah.
I can't see the point, especially since we're on the draw here. So and they are like a big mana deck. Yeah, I think that's not unreasonable. We have to ask ourselves how excited we are about casting Misdirection, though we did just do it in all its glory.
Right, because it's a bad card on defense. It's only a good card on offense. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah, maybe like that. I think that's kind of legit. And hey, how about if we could actually draw a Stockup? We haven't like drawn any yet.
Yeah,
and this
exactly.
would be a good matchup to draw them.
Yeah, I think sideboarded games against combo is good because if we, duress, fluster, force, and then refill, then we are probably doing something right. Oh no, it's coming to fruition, Martin.
Hey, it doesn't matter. We'll win with Shouldred. It's all good.
How can we even make a Doomsday pile with Sheldred that wins?
Yeah. We just have to put Dark Ritual and Doomsday in it.
Oh shoot, to restock. Okay, got it.
Hey man, that's how we roll.
This could be a bit scary. So my theory when approaching a matchup like this is I want my opponent to kind of come to me and get flustered and get duressed, and then I'll be fine. Let's see what this is. Another suspend?
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about that.
No, I mean, we can decide if we want to worry about it in a bit. Okay.
How do you feel about cycling to start things off?
Yeah, I think that's fine. We're less interested in keeping hold of cyclers when we're not trying to be really fast.
Terrible draw.
Yeah. I honestly think I just go with Undercity Sewers. Yeah, and we just bite the bullet if they're playing Days. I don't know. They probably aren't.
It looks like a bad Days deck. Let's keep this card.
Yeah. So about that Profane Tutor, friend. I guess they can probably pay for the Profane Tutor with the Flusterstorm.
Yeah, that's actually a little bit of an issue. So this resolves.
Yeah. Let them. They probably take Force of Will, although maybe.
How do you feel about binning a Dark Ritual to fluster the Profane?
Yeah, I think it's okay.
Worth it, right?
Yeah, and then the next turn we untap and cast Stockup and pull ahead, hopefully.
Yeah. Sometimes I pay for Flusterstorms with Ritual or Hardcast Force and Vintage, stuff like that, so this is kind of similar.
Yeah, pitch a Dark Ritual to Force is a play for sure. So hang on, the tutor happens before the draw step, right?
Yeah, and they just kept the card.
Yeah.
Yeah, so That is some kind of tiebreaker. I'm just not.
I mean, Demonic Tutor is probably better. Like, free Demonic Tutor is probably better than whatever's on top of their deck. So
Yeah, it's a tough one actually.
I guess we don't know, but like
I'm gonna follow the plan here, but great catch. Also, they're down to 3 cards, and they need some. What's going on here? Did I mess up?
no. It's just the trigger,
Oh.
right? Yeah. So we should have not done that yet, but it'll all happen timing wise. It's not a problem.
Exactly.
Here we go.
So opponent has to pay 3 here. They have perfect info now. This play was not pretty, but it's, you know, it gets the job done. There's also the world that my opponent slept at the wheel and just kept the card because they were shuffling anyway. So let's live in that world.
Yeah. Let's live in let's live in that world. I like that.
That's the turn, buddy.
Yeah, that's what we want. Okay. Yeah, I think we just jam the stock up here. If they counter it, that's what it is, right?
Time to shine.
Yeah. Heck yes. Okay.
I guess just
I think this is
duress, right?
Yeah, easy.
It's actually it's not the best one. I'm still very sad about us not having 2 oracles in the deck. I'll probably never forget that.
No. You'll forget it once we win with children.
Oh, for sure. That's then you know, everything is forgotten. Opponent fetches basic island here. What does that tell us?
I don't think it tells us much.
So you're not expecting to get Harbingered in a second?
I'm not, no, but hey, I guess it's not a
nice draw.
Ooh, yeah. So I think we lead with basic swamp and then duress, and then we'll see what's going on over there. 3 cards can't be that much.
No. This is good.
Yeah. I mean,
so now
we're at the spot where if they just rip a Thoughtseize. Okay, no. Thankfully we didn't have to.
That would have been so funny if we had to hedge. So let's just do the kind of the thought experiment here of what are we actually doing here to hedge our bets in the situation, just for the fun of it.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh, that one is gone. That one is gone. That one is gone. Gone. These were gone. We have all the disrupt. I think which was the one. I had 1 more card in the deck at this point. 2 of those guys, and then I got 1 pedal. Okay, so our deck looks like this in the situation. We have Oracle, the only Oracle and Force in hand. So we want to be able to present a win next turn, but we also don't want to just fold to a... But I guess the card Doomsday in the pile just solves everything, because if we get Thoughtseized, we can reshuffle with Doomsday. So we just make some kind of win on the spot with Oracle, backup plan being cantripping into a Doomsday and ask the question all over again. So maybe it's not that interesting.
Yeah, I think the really interesting part would be if we have to tell ourselves we need to be able to exile the Oracle to Force if for some reason they do something.
Yeah.
But we obviously know that's not going to happen because we know their hand and it's
and
2 lands.
They need 2 pieces to do really
but
dirty
I think
things.
Things being what they were, I think we just make a pile that's like Street Wraith Edge, and then like another Force of Will, and then maybe we add Shieldred and then Doomsday as the final card.
Let's go.
Yeah, because we have the 4 lands, right? So that wasn't a problem. I think we even have a 5th land?
We had a fetch in hand, so let's say
I guess then the Edge of Autumn can go away, and we put in a land there, so we also don't lose a land.
Good call about the fetch thinning and providing a mana.
Yeah, yes. So the pile would just be like the land on the bottom, and then Street Wraith, Force of Will. Yeah, just like it is right there from top to bottom.
That's pretty cool because, yeah, with only 1 Oracle, you can get into some tight spots. So it's actually kind of cool that we got into a spot like that. But yeah, so just to evaluate a little bit, the first matchup, Stockup, is a card that is not ideal because what they're doing is 0 mana. They have a proactive game plan. We don't have that much time. So in that matchup, we would prefer to just draw, turn 2 Doomsday more often, you know, with stuff like Personal Tutor. But then in the second matchup against another unfair deck, we can kind of take the control role, and then all of a sudden, the refill of Stockup, you know, going for Force Blue card or, I don't know, Doomsday Duress or whatever the case may be, then that card can really shine because we have the tools to prolong the game and get into a spot where casting this card gives us an advantage. So that was actually kind of cool. We got to play against both sides of the spectrum.
Yeah, I agree. I think like in this kind of blue combo mirror, like two Force of Will combo decks, I think Stockup is like very much a mirror breaker. I think the first person who resolves a Stockup is
Yeah.
pulling pretty far ahead. So I think it's having three versus having like none. And I think like for me, if these weren't Stockups, they would probably be like one or two of them would be Personal Tutors, and one or two of them would maybe be like Preordain or something.
Right.
Which I think, like like you said in the first matchup, that those cards are preferable. Like Personal Tutor just gets Doomsday, and Preordain smooths out your draws and operates at 1 mana, which you kind of want stuff that does
Yeah.
stuff on the early turns.
Preordain can set up turn
But
2 kills, where Stockup is more,
yeah,
make you more durable into turns 3+, right?
yeah. I was impressed with it here in the final game. I thought it was like, I think the Stockup, if that is a Preordain, I'm not sure the fact that we were able to like both get a discard spell and what was it, Force of
It was a
Will?
force to go with
Yeah,
our blue card in hand.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was that was a pretty good sort of proof of concept for Stockup. But like that specific sort of sequence,
Yeah.
I still think it is. Yeah, I don't know. Like you just have to know what you're walking into. If you put
Yes.
like multiple copies of that card in your deck, I would not be adverse to like playing one if I felt like my deck needed that one now and again engine card that kind of like speeds like sort of gives you a boost.
Yeah.
Where before I would just play like Knight's Whisper. I think Stockup is there's definitely a case to be made for it. Also because uh, Legacy Doomsday does at times struggle with a blue count for Force of Will, so turning
Yeah.
that black card into a blue card
Yeah,
is
that's a good
relevant.
call. Also, what you alluded to all the way in the beginning, that it doesn't draw. So what you're trying to say there is obviously that because Orcus Bowmaster sees a ton of play out of S tier decks, then we can get a little bit of mileage there out of our quote unquote draw spell. So that, the blue count, and then, you know, whenever you face slower blue deck or combo pseudo mirror, you know, you need those numbers to match up against all the times you're playing against Ancient Tomb or you're on the draw against a fast Delver deck or whatever the case may be, right? And then those games is not going to help. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a metagame thing, looking at the metagame you're trying to beat, and to see if the numbers add up.
Yeah, I agree.
But this was very, very awesome. I think we got into the gist of it. Game one, match one was a bit stressful, and the other one was we had a pretty clear plan. But I think that's just fun content, right? And hopefully you enjoyed being here as well, Martin.
Yeah, for sure. No, it was great. I love sort of nerding out on Doomsday. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was awesome. And for everybody watching, thanks so much. If you want to check out Martin, I will link his YouTube channel in the description or in the pinned comment, so you can go check out his videos. I promise it's going to be a bit better executed than what I was able to do today on my own. But I love the assistance, and yeah, let's keep in touch. Thanks so much, Martin.
All right, man. Peace.
Yeah, and all right, guys. Thanks so much for watching. I hope to see you back soon. Bye.